The Raiders have made a late addition to their roster by signing Jamal Adams and reuniting him with Pete Carroll, who he played under in his final years as the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. And Jamal Adams has been forced by the Raiders to finally do what everybody's been yelling at him to do for the last couple of years, and that's change positions. Jamal Adams, for up to this point in his career, prior to signing with the Raiders, has been a safety, and he's been at his best when he's played up near the line of scrimmage because he's really good blitzing. He's really good getting after the quarterback. He's a great tackler as well. But covering the back end of the field isn't really his strong suit. So everybody has been suggesting for a while that Jamal Adams changed from safety to linebacker, and he finally has been forced to make that change by the Raiders, because the Raiders essentially said, hey, Jamal, you have an opportunity to make this team and maybe start if you move the linebacker and you end up being really good throughout training camp, which this opportunity should be one that Jamal Adams makes the most of, because Jamal Adams' skill set when he was coming out of LSU to begin with was him being a high-level box safety. And he was a former All-Pro. He just has a knack for getting to the football. He just has really good instincts. He's one of those guys that can see a play coming before it even happens. So it benefits the Raiders moving him to linebacker when you already have a huge question mark at this position as it is. And it's open season for anybody to win any of the two Raiders starting jobs. Jamal Adams, he's going to be competing with Jermaine Pratt, who got cut by the Cincinnati Bengals not too long ago. Devin White, remember him? Yeah, he's on the Raiders roster. Tommy Eichenberg was a day 2 selection that the Raiders made not too long ago, coming out of Ohio State. I really liked him. High football IQ, reminds me a little bit of Paul Posluszny. Landon Roberts is still there. Jalen Smith, remember him? When he was one of the best linebackers in the NFL playing for the Cowboys, and all of a sudden he got that contract extension and the injury started to pile up. Well, he's competing for a spot on this roster along with one of those two starting linebacker jobs. So Jamal Adams is going to have some stiff competition, but if I was a betting man, I would bet my money on Jamal Adams making this team and starting that linebacker for the Raiders. One thing about Pete Carroll is that he always gets the most out of players that you perceive that their careers are over. And Jamal Adams, he's getting up there in age, but he hasn't really played that much, so he is as healthy as he's ever been. And he also would be a good locker room guy to have on a Raiders team that hasn't really had a lot of attitude. They haven't really had a lot of nastiness about them over the last couple of years, especially on defense. Jamal Adams would definitely bring that. They need a hard hitter. They need an enforcer, which is what Jamal Adams is. And when it comes to coverage, I think that Jamal Adams will be much better covering linebackers and running backs near the line of scrimmage than what he would be if he just plays that safety position. But also, let's say Jamal Adams does start at linebacker, right? Then they could move him around in some capacity. Not just because they play him at linebacker, but occasionally you can play him at safety, try to find some favorable matchups. Then maybe you want to move him in the slot because slot corners got to be really good at pressing, and they also got to be good against the run. So it would help to have a good run stopper like Jamal Adams out there on the edge making plays. There's a bunch of different ways that the Raiders can get Jamal Adams going on this defense, especially when you have Patrick Graham, who's one of the more respected defensive coordinators in the league. I don't view this as one of these late edition signings where you get a guy that doesn't really make an impact, maybe special teams at best. No, like Pete Carroll didn't bring back Jamal Adams. He didn't re-link up with him for no reason. He even said it, that he's an incredible blitzer, and that's definitely what the Raiders need right now. You're not going to have Christian Wilkins, so you can definitely add some more help when it comes to your pass rush. Jamal Adams doesn't really specialize as a edge rusher, but at times when he was with the Seattle Seahawks, he was really good getting after the quarterback. So this is somebody that has been playing out of position for the entirety of his career, pretty much. Everybody has been saying move the linebacker because that's just where you're better suited at with your playing style. And the Raiders have finally forced Jamal Adams to make that position change, and we'll see how that works out for him. But the Raiders just have a bunch of guys on defense that we haven't heard their names shouted out in the game in a very long time. It's going to be exciting watching preseason football for the Raiders this year. You pretty much got the NFL's last chance U team that they've assembled. Devin White, Jalen Smith, Jamal Adams. I mean, I can't wait to see the preseason games that the Raiders are going to be brawling in this year coming up within the next couple of days, because I definitely am looking forward to seeing if Jamal Adams can make the most out of this opportunity, which I believe that he will.